Ladies and gentlemen, the future is virtual reality. Well, at least we keep being told that, don't we? So back in March 2014, the artist formerly known as Project Morpheus was unveiled to the gaming media, and indeed the world. Now of course we know it as the PlayStation VR, but the technical specifications of the PlayStation VR have been a bit ambiguous. Well, actually, ambiguous isn't even the word, we've known bloody nothing about them. There have been some details that have been announced in the past, and we will go over some of those again just for the sake of it in a few minutes' time. But now we actually have some concrete specifications regarding the actual abilities, I guess you could say, of the actual headset itself. So, what be they? Well, first of all, the PlayStation VR will launch with a 5.7 organic light-emitting diode, also known as OLED, display. And this will be set right behind the lenses, and it will offer a 1080p resolution, so that's 1920 by 1080 RGB image, of course, which is under 18 ms of latency, which is pretty damn impressive. The lens, meanwhile, warp the image and should offer a 100-degree field of vision, which is actually pretty good. Obviously, FOV when dealing with virtual reality is kind of a big deal, because if you have a very narrow FOV, you're probably going to either feel motion sick or it's just going to look really weird, because, well, reality has a wide field of vision, right? If you're not too sure what field of vision is or the impacting games, I've actually got I guess you could say comparison of field of vision. So you can actually search FOV on the channel searchy thing, or search Red Gaming Tech FOV and it'll pop up. It's actually, if nothing else, a good insight onto what exactly field of vision or the actual device itself, and along with the accelerometer and gyroscope, because obviously it's kind of important that the device knows which direction you're looking, because it needs to know if you're looking to the left. Now, there are some things which are less clear. One of those things which is less clear is actually the pricing and the launch date. It's kind of ridiculous, to be honest with you, the fact that we still have no idea when this thing's going to be ready. What we do know is that they have been, and that would be Sony, rather boisterous when it comes to development. If you can hear some fireworks in the background, I apologise, by the way. It still is the fireworks season, it would appear, here in the UK. But as I mentioned, software to get this to work. For example, not only is the built-in motion tracking on the PlayStation Camera, PlayStation Move, back, let's see, May, I believe, mid-May, there was some adverts from Sony, which was basically looking for people. They were recruiting people for level designers, character animators, artists, that type of thing, to join an ambitious new studio to create original games exclusively for the Project Morpheus, also known as PlayStation VR. Now, this studio supposedly is in Manchester, which would be the United Kingdom, and Sony are being less than forthcoming in regards to what the actual software will be. So for the sake of argument, is it going to be gimmicky type of games, party games, or other cool tech demos, or is it going to be repurposing of assets for virtual reality, or will it even be something like, for example, AAA horror experience, which could be kind of cool. Now we all know that, yes, the screens are 1080p and they're pretty good quality, and that's been one of the positives that everyone is talking about in the press who have actually tried out the PlayStation VR. Everyone says yes, the screen quality is really good, but John Carmack supposedly estimates that PlayStation 4 can drive PS3 level graphics for PlayStation VR. This obviously is his estimate. We don't really know what he's done with it, how much he's actually used the hardware, but that's his estimate. So I guess the question is, how forgiving are people going to be with less graphical quality but for virtual reality? In some games, once again, I can totally get behind it, but at the end of the day, it is a closed system. I'm not 100% convinced about virtual reality on a system like this. I think it's pretty cool. I've used VR, I've used Oculus Rift, and it is really cool. I've tried a couple of games, for example Half-Life, some technical demos and some other piece of software as well, and it is really cool. It really, really is awesome. Personally, and this is my own personal experience at the moment, I don't know if I would be like, okay, this is how I want a game 24/7. For first-person experiences, I refer, not to like third-person, for example, like Bloodborne or Dark Souls or what have you. In my opinion, it's kind of cool for a while, and it definitely has its place for certain games, but I don't know, at least with the technology at this point in time, with the weight of the headset, personally, I do get some motion sickness with virtual reality. Now, I have heard that this is improved with later versions of the Oculus Rift kit and with PlayStation VR. Obviously, some people's mileage may vary. Some of this is down to FOV. Some of this is down to just how your mind and eyes perceive things and so on and so forth. The bottom line is, however, virtual reality is probably going to be here at some form or another. I don't necessarily know if the PlayStation VR or the PlayStation 4 is going to be the final resting place for virtual reality. My gut feeling, and this is purely conjecture, that if Sony do make something of this, it's going to be improved for the next generation where it really shines. At the moment, I feel it's almost like a testing phase. Sony have put a lot of money into it, which is great, I'm not criticising that, but I feel that they're putting the money in for researching a potential future, like, you know, the PlayStation 5 or something like that, or maybe cloud, or whatever they end up going with in the future with the PlayStation brand. I'm not totally against that, you know, that's fine. But the big question is, obviously, depending upon the price and what the graphical fidelity of the games are, and what the actual, I guess you could say, what the actual spectrum of titles on offer will be. Are people going to buy it? Because it's once again a catch-22, because it's alright for you to say, well, you've got to buy a PlayStation 4, then yeah, everyone expects to buy a PlayStation 4 to buy, you know, an exclusive game, that's fine. But when you then say, well, to buy the PlayStation VR, you're also going to have to buy the PlayStation 4, the PlayStation VR, the games, and all of the other equipment you're going to need, maybe like the controllers or what have you, that starts to get a bit expensive. My point being, I do wonder if some studios are going to be put off with that simply because of the high barrier of entry for consumers themselves. After all, it's not like it's going to cost you like $50 to buy the PlayStation VR. It's going to be, from what we're hearing anyway, a fairly expensive piece of equipment. What expensive piece of equipment is, of course, is down to interpretation. Some have speculated that it's going to be about as expensive as the PlayStation 4 itself. Others are speculating it's going to be cheaper. I'll just use Great British Pound prices, for example, 100, 200, 100-ish I think people are going to be okay with. But 300 for sake of argument? I don't know. That's quite a tall asking price. And I imagine a lot of this will come down to, of course, not only the first wave of games which come out on the system, but also the consistency that one expects games to be released afterwards, particularly at the moment since PlayStation Vita is not doing so hot. So I guess people are a bit concerned that either the experience is not going to be up there what they expect but graphically, or the games themselves are not going to be as consistent or maybe as supported, or the device itself is not going to be supported by as many developers. After all, yes, it's great that Sony are putting in the first-party work, that's 100% commendable, but first-party you can only develop so much internally unless you're going to really put in ridiculous, ludicrous amounts of money behind the system to develop, you know, say a game every other month or something like that. Even that is not that many in the grand scheme of things. Let me know your thoughts and fears on this one. I'm cautiously optimistic, but I am also... I've got my own trepidations. Let's go with that. But with that said, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.